Start recording. So earlier this morning I had some little bit of time. Well, let's call it that. And I was talking to Bongo, and I have been looking to see the DXY, essentially to retrace into, where's the pose? Let me make this a little bit bigger. Right here, looking for the DXY to essentially run into this bullish daily fair value gap right here. And for Euro US dollar to hit the previous week's high, this red line here. Played out perfectly. In the end, I actually also took a little trade based on that. So I entered long right here on that sweep. Inside of this hourly bullish fair value gap, I took the chances of us continuing higher. Of course, it was risky because, yeah, NFP news event, but we barely even got a massive wick to the downside, or a major wick. We usually see that on NFP. This time we got lucky. I also closed the position just before, because as we can see right here, this is this red line we had on a Discord. This is our previous week's high, and we've cleared it just before the NFP news event, and we pumped through it. So now we have a huge inefficiency. We retraced, yeah, roughly 50% into it. But Euro US dollar is not going to be the topic of today's stream. So let's switch back to the indices. Of course, if you have any questions throughout the stream, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. Let's duplicate this tab and open up NQ as well. Because right from the get-go here, well, I don't think EMAs will be super helpful. We are starting out with SMT divergence. We can see that already. Bearish SMT. We are back above the new week opening gap. We already retraced back into it. I am $9 away from passing phase 1 here, thanks to that lovely Euro US dollar trade. Had a little bit of a miscalculation there. Didn't properly calculate the fees that I'm paying. Right here, you see that, $9.90. I had to pay a $20 fee, and yeah, essentially that fee is missing. That's why I'm not through phase 1 just yet. We have the SMT divergence, but I think more interesting is going to be where this thing could go today if we continue to move into this direction. So if you don't mind, let's, for the first 30 minutes of the stream, or 20 minutes until 10, until we enter the SilverBullet timing window, do a little bit of higher time frame analysis. So I'd say we would start out with the daily time frame. Actually log out of the paper trading here. Log out, done. Not sure where that line comes from. And open up the NQ master tab, because inside of that layout we have all our drawings. NQ master, all right. Daily. So that's where we're currently at on the daily time frame. We are about to run into buy-side liquidity. We looked at this earlier this week on a 1 hour time frame. Those two highs essentially. We haven't cleared them yet on NQ. We left behind nice equal highs, and I think we're running into them right now. So here's that buy-side liquidity from the higher time frame. Even had bullish SMT divergence here. We found a higher low on NQ and a lower low on ES. All right, so we cleared the first target, but let's keep on going with our higher time frame analysis. We have a daily bearish fair value gap sitting right here. We have the breaker block and all that stuff, but I'm really not too interested into that. I'm going to follow order flow and see where it takes us. So last time we looked at NQ on a daily time frame, we mentioned that we swept out the most recent sell side liquidity pools below each and every single one of these lows, retraced into that, and then we bounced off the lowest bullish fair value gap here before we take out more sell side liquidity. Open with a new week opening gap right here, back inside of the bullish fair value gap and pushed up higher from there. Retested the 50%. Inversion fair value gap, leaving behind a new bullish fair value gap. We came back to retest that bullish fair value gap, wicked into our bullish fair value gap right here, continued higher. All right, we actually referenced it a second time, right around here. Let's get rid of this line. Haven't really used this fair value gap too much. All these drawings can disappear. On a lower time frame, let's go to the daily time frame here real quick. Hide all the drawings. Group 1 can also be deleted. Recap, we're going to leave that on, but we wanted to look at the daily time frame. Because on ES, first of all, we tapped the yearly VWAP right here. We're back at the quarterly VWAP right now, and the question is, will we be able to close above this daily bearish fair value gap here, the only bearish fair value gap within this entire retracement? Similar to in Q, we cleared sell side liquidity. We bounced. Question now is, since we already cleared the previous week's high here, we already cleared the high, rejection of the quarterly VWAP starting on the beginning of the second quarter, Monday the 1st of April. See if we can close above that, because that's going to really set us up for next week. Potentially continuing higher. So that's a daily on on ES. Taking a look at NQ right now. Let's also bring up the VWAP here. 2nd of January. That's our yearly VWAP, and 1st of April is going to be our quarterly VWAP, and we can see they just crossed over right here. That's also where we rejected from on Monday, the 29th of April. Coming back all this way, trapping shorts into the market to retest the bullish fair value gap. Yeah, essentially just to bounce away from it. All right, so we cleared the buy side liquidity. We tapped the daily bearish fair value gap. Let's see if we can find, or if we are able to spot some sort of a reaction, maybe a short-term bearish reaction inside of this daily bearish fair value gap. That's really all the outlook that we need at this point in time. If anyone wants to add something to this analysis, feel free to. But that's my current outlook, at least. Those 3 lines. Can't be deleted. We have our daily updated. Let's bring this back down to the 5-minute time frame. So this is our daily bearish fair value gap. This is our quarterly VWAP, yearly VWAP, daily VWAP, previous week's high, and new week opening gap, all right inside of here. Bring this back to the 5-minute time frame. Show the ICT all in one again. Previous week's high, quarterly VWAP, daily VWAP. Now, quarterly VWAP, yearly VWAP, and our daily bearish fair value gap that we're inside of right now. So let's hide the daily and put our VWAPs in here. And focus on price action on a 5-minute time frame. Like I said, I just need $9 in order to pass phase 1, but I don't just want to take any silly setup in order to pass. Let's look for a clean setup, risking a little bit less, but main idea stays the same. 5-minute time frame. Let's hide the daily analysis here. Cleared the current high of day. We can also take a quick look at the London session. Let me take a look at the news calendar. Yeah, we have import prices news at 10. Good call. We already planned on waiting until 10 anyway before we take a setup. So I say it might be interesting to take a look. We can also recap the PM session yesterday if you guys want to. But what's most interesting to me would be this early morning London session. London opened up right 3 a.m. right here. That's when London opened up on this down closing candle. Just around that area, what do we have? A bearish fair value gap. So we formed a new low of the day right here. Low of the day. We cleared that. We came back to retest the midnight level. We also had a bearish fair value gap right here with it. We close above. No, we didn't even close above, so that's pretty nice. Bearish fair value gap. We traded into that, rejected, leaving behind a new bearish fair value gap. At the London Open, we traded back into it. Closed back below it at 255, and then at 3 a.m. we managed to close and open below it. And note how we opened up right here. We opened with a volume imbalance. Really just, showing us that price wants to continue lower. Retested this fair value gap here one more time. We did not have any inversion fair value gap on this move to the upside. London opened up, gave the confirmation drop lower with this volume imbalance and respecting this bearish fair value gap after all. So it was a pretty clean move to the downside. I did not catch that. I was looking for shorts somewhere on the 1-minute time frame down here. Didn't play out, as you can see. But well, this was just really interesting price action. We can take a look at it on the 1 minute right here. Where is it? Just went sideways, not willing to continue any lower. And if we also go on the higher time frame, where we at? Right over here. We had a 1 hour and 4 hour bullish fair value gap coming in right here. This is our 4 hour bullish fair value gap. And if we go to the 1 hour time frame, we also had a 1 hour bullish fair value gap right here. So that's just all adding up that we retraced enough apparently into this higher time frame fair value gap. But I don't blindly buy the low, hoping it's not continuing any lower. I want to see some confirmation, and with confirmation I usually stick with, especially from the low of the day, I usually stick to inversion fair value gaps. The only thing, or the only issue we had here is that on this entire move to the downside here on a 5 minute, we did not leave behind a bearish 5 minute fair value gap. The last 5 minute fair value gap we left behind was this one right here. Those two ones, and then we managed to push above the midnight. We had another one right up here, just below the new day opening gap. So at this point in time, once we closed above it right here, you see that? This can be labeled as a inversion fair value gap. We already confirmed the market structure shift at this point. We left behind a new bullish fair value gap overlapping with our inversion fair value gap right here. Bullish fair value gap also paired with a nice volume imbalance right in here. Came back to retest that, and that's your confirmation that price is continuing higher. You could have entered that with a limit order like this. And your stop loss, well, stop loss would have been tricky because we just moved to the upside without leaving behind any kind of higher low to hold us. See this volume imbalance? This volume imbalance has been referenced a second time. Once we closed above it, we came back to retest it right here. I would have been part of the camp that would have waited for the reaction of this inversion fair value gap with this up closing candle. Place my stop loss. 2.5 points should have been enough, because if I'm entering on this inversion fair value gap, I'm not really interested in price going really back below it, especially since we already showed some sort of support inside the inversion overlapping with the bullish fair value gap and those two volume imbalances. Also happening right with the new hourly opening. Next candle is retesting the bullish fair value gap one more time, and then it's pushing above the midnight level. And what is it doing at the same time? Well, also closing above this bearish fair value gap, turning it into a inversion fair value gap. And what's the next candle doing? Well, came back to retest the inversion and delivered into our next target, this 5-minute bearish. Afterwards, it consolidated for a little while here, but at this point in time, we're already out of the London kill zone timing window. Came back, left behind another inversion fair value gap right here at the very low. Bounced off the VWAP and continued to run into the previous day's high and a sharp buy side liquidity right here. Yeah, and that essentially was the London kill zone. If you trade, I don't know, around 7 or 8 just before the 8:30 news event, well, don't be surprised if you see sideways price action. Not a large range, but you get the idea. Right here, down, up, and then we had the massive pump. That's usually what happens on NFP Friday, 1 or 2 hours ahead of the actual news event. That's why we trade you can trade from 2 a.m., even 1 a.m. onwards. But stopping at the latest point would be, in my opinion, 6, because that's the 4-hour candle close. And at 6 a.m., New York local time, we also have a new 4-hour candle opening, which is including the news candle essentially. So we had a pretty nice setup here this morning. Can't really complain about that. Let's take a look at NQ. NQ pushed higher while we've been doing this recap. Let's see, if you're in long for any reason whatsoever, maybe look forward to take partials around to 50% of our daily bearish fair value gap, and the quarterly VWAP would be a good target, especially ahead of the news event dropping in 4 minutes. If we look at NQ, down here we had a similar setup right here. We cleared the Asia session low. We took out one more sell side liquidity pool right here. One short-term low. We cleared that. Pushed back to the upside. Shifting structure. Coming back to retest it, but it didn't present the inversion fair value gap opportunity, and it also didn't run into the Asia session buy side liquidity. It just started to, go sideways right around the VWAP and the midnight level. Above, below, above, below, above, below, and then open up with a massive gap right here. We closed here, we open up here, pushing into above the previous week's high essentially. So the setup was much cleaner on ES than it was on NQ earlier this morning during the London session. Also keep in mind it's Friday. For me, Fridays are dangerous territory. They're more about capital preservation and generation. It's always good to save your profits. You worked hard for them, and giving them away on Friday sucks because you carry those emotions with you over the entire weekend if you blew the account, and maybe even into next week, and you certainly want to avoid that. I talked about it with Bongo yesterday. Typically, for me as well, Monday and Fridays are the most dangerous days throughout the trading week. We have news coming up in 2 minutes, 1.5 actually. So far, we just kept on going higher. We only retested the NFP fair value gap once right here, paired with the previous week's high, went sideways. New York opened up, and we pushed higher. So let's keep an eye on all that. Put all of that into the recap folder and hide it. Turn on the daily. Does anyone want to share his idea or her idea about what's going to happen within the SilverBullet timing window, what you're looking for? Maybe share your daily bias and then we can talk about it together. It's not about seeing who's right and or wrong about the daily bias. We're all wrong sometimes. It's to practice essentially. So feel free to share that and we take it from there. News in 25 seconds. Or if you already, drew the sell from around the daily gap CE. All right. So right around the quarterly VWAP. Pushing higher. Maybe we can draw out some, essentially, we're still within this super big 4-hour bearish fair value gap. So the next buy side objective here on a 4-hour time frame would be all the way up here at 5213. Before we really, take it higher. On the 1-hour time frame, our next target after we cleared the previous week's high really would be, also this high. Maybe, we could map out this as a short-term high, because if we then drop it down to the 15-minute, go all the way over here, it sort of is some internal liquidity, at least best liquidity pool we have before we reach, a 52.13. So those are the buy side targets really, because we're still stuck within this 4-hour bearish fair value gap. We cleared the previous week's high, and I think the best approach would be to take it from there. We talked about today being very interesting to see where this week overall is going to close. So we want to see it, ideally we want to see it close above here, above the daily bearish fair value gap. Then we could really be, anticipating higher prices next week. We've been for a lot this week. We had FOMC news. News schedule was very busy. So let's see what we're going to get for the remainder of the day. NQ almost tested the consequent encouragement and the quarterly VWAP. Back on the daily bearish fair value gap. If that daily fair value gap invalid, we can expect new high. Daily fair value gap invalid. Yeah, same. See how well fair value gaps are being respected at the beginning of our SilverBullet timing window, because we have some juicy liquidity resting below here, below these lows, paired with the SMT earlier from today. Let's actually change this to a bullish fair value gap. Maybe take it back to Euro US dollar one more time. Just out of curiosity to see what's going on over there. Let's make a... No, let's go with the unnamed one. Inversion fair value gap. The DXY retested this entire daily inversion fair value gap and hit the target that I outlined earlier. So based on that, that's also going to be very interesting on how we are going to continue on the indices, cryptos, and whatever. Still didn't fill in this gap though. If we would have filled that in and then we would have seen that reaction, would have been a different story. Let's see, 15 seconds to go. Let's see if we can... Well, that didn't go. That didn't work. Or did it? No, no open positions. Risk once again right here. Let's put it at the consequent encouragement. So risk $20. Why isn't it? Trade locker might be down once again. Yeah, connecting to the server. Everyone wants to be trading the NFP news event. I hope maybe later during the PM session I will be able to connect it. What kind of trouble, Bongo? But you get the idea, so we're just going to take the paper trade here. Based on the inversion fair value gap. All right, here we go. Now we got filled. We put our stop loss at the consequent encouragement here. And our profit target is going to be at least the VWAP. Well, just make sure you always document everything if you trade with props, and you don't keep a proper journal of what's happening, especially if there are issues with the platform itself. Always make sure to take screenshots, because every time you're going to be in one of those, well, ugly cases, or where, yeah, platform is down or you've been filled and you cannot, like Pongo Rambo, for example, right now, having trouble to remove a pending order or a order that's still in the system. Just make sure you take screenshots, because then you can always, well, explain yourself very well inside of a support ticket. Otherwise, you're just claiming something without having proof to back it up. Same inversion fair value gap here on ES. Already at the VWAP though, so let's see how that plays out. Trade lock is still down. Damn, that would have already been my profit target. Balance is loading up, but it's connecting. And why am I choosing NQ here? Well, because we're up higher, we still didn't clear this low right here. Neither did we clear this low right there. We're also still a couple of points away from our VWAP, our daily VWAP in this case. Yeah, just because it's up higher, if I make the direct comparison to ES, we can already see, okay, right now on ES, we're at the VWAP, new week opening gap, we have the yearly VWAP sitting right here. The overall setup is the same, but there's more potential to the downside on NQ because NQ is somewhere up here. Still has ways to go, so I like that chart more. Good initial reaction. We can check what the 1 minute time frame looks like. No fair value gap whatsoever, but this would be our break-in structure. Let's see if we run into internal sell side. Keep in mind we have the yearly VWAP sitting right there. Also not asking for my take profit target to be down here. I think that's just too demanding. Once we reach that, I'm pretty fine. Like I said, NQ still being above that previous week's high, not having cleared the sell side, of course, could mean NQ is just strong and we keep on going higher. This 10 a.m. move to the downside was just to stop out a couple of traders, but in reality, we never really hit a short-term low. With a short-term low, I'm always referencing a low with a lower, with a higher low, this way around, with a higher low to the left and a higher low to the right. So you always look at 3 candles. Let's say for example, we look at this candle right here at this low. We have a lower low to the left and a higher low to the right. So this is not, yeah, that's not a short-term low. Let's look at this one. We have a higher low to the left and a higher low to the right. And that's the criteria for me to be a short-term low, defined as a short-term low. Same thing here. Higher low to the left, higher low to the right. This would also be considered a short-term low in this example, with a higher low to the left, but I like to use the ones that actually stand out. Just to make all this stuff clear, retested the inversion fair value gap one more time. DXY is bouncing. Let's take a look at the lower time frame here on the DXY. So we had our news event. We filled in this entire inversion fair value gap, but that's not the one that I wanted to take a look at. Sorry, gents. Just looking at my casual retail trader Fibonacci retracement tool. From the high to the low, that's the current range we're in. Filled in this bullish fair value gap. Yeah, hit the 50%. And now we're working our way back out of it. We can see, yeah, Euro US dollar Forex pair immediately, yeah, well, do exactly the opposite. almost having retraced that entire 830 move. Keep that in mind. If the DXY were to trend higher, well, would be surprised if we wouldn't run these lows on NQ. And if you trade with more than one contract, maybe you don't trade minis and you trade micros, because, well, then you can just have a easier time to take partials. You would take one micro, let's say you enter with 3 micros. It also depends on your account size and how many commissions and fees you want to be paying. Take one off right here, and then we move our stop just to break even. And we're going to do a, well, imaginary partialing. So we take one off right here. And then in the worst case, you already made some profit and you didn't lose anything if we were to bounce off our yearly VWAP. And why do I have the yearly VWAP and quarterly VWAP on my chart? Well, because it's institutionalized. It's hard to deny that fact. Those are always good, well, anchor points, okay? Where's yearly VWAP sitting at? Well, reference points. Yearly VWAP, quarterly VWAP, and all that stuff. Kind of, well, adds a little bit of volume analysis into the overall price action analysis that I do. Let's have a look at Trade Locker. All these retards trading NFP. Well, I don't mind. Of course, it would suck if I'm in a trade right now. That's why I would still recommend Trade Locker just because I like it so much. A friend of mine who came over for a visit before I went to Greece, he's also trading with funding pips, but he's actually using CTrader, and he showed me the mobile app, and the mobile app of CTrader is really top notch. It's really high quality. If I wouldn't use Trade Locker, I would definitely use that mobile app. I just really don't like executing trades on my mobile phone. We'll see. But yeah, just make sure if you sign up for funding pips, cheapest CFD challenge, of course, you can't live within America if you want to do that. Because, yeah, Forex trading and stuff like that, CFD with leverage, it's not allowed in the US. So, yeah, make sure you're aware of that. But they offer the cheapest CFD challenges in the market with a high quality support. And you can request 7-day withdrawals, so withdrawals every 7 days. That's also, yeah, the lowest time period for you to request withdrawals. With other firms, you have to wait either 2 weeks or 1 entire month to request a payout. And yeah, haven't had a single bad experience with them, well, except with Trade Locker, but it's not funding pips fault, it's the Trade Locker backend, the servers. They're just not strong enough to handle all these, yeah, well, inflows of traders through funding pips that are coming in from funding pips. So if you want to avoid that, just use CTrader on your mobile phone. I don't really like the web version of it. I think executing on your mobile phone is more interesting if you go for the CTrader platform, or you just use MatchTrader. But that's all up to personal preferences in the end of the day. Yeah, Trade Locker is much worse around news. On FOMC, I mean, we streamed New York session, FOMC, no issues at all. But I guess anyone just wants to trade the NFP news event and catch past challenge within 1 day. No, they have issues. That's all right. Well, like I said, you have plenty of choices. Besides Trade Locker, you can choose MatchTrader and CTrader. CTrader would be more interesting if you want to execute on your mobile phone, from my point of view, but everyone's different. I think RM is using MatchTrader, if I'm correct. I tried MatchTrader, I didn't like it, but like I said, it's all coming down to personal preferences. And if you trade with future funding firms, well, the choice is either between NinjaTrader and TradingView. And for me personally, the choice will always be TradingView, because I'm already doing all my analysis here, and that just really keeps things simple. You're also using TradeLocker, okay. Well, it sucks that sometimes you're not able to trade, but I think that's only a temporary issue until, well, TradeLocker has a strong enough backend to handle all these inflows of traders coming in from funding pips. You can always request to change platforms, by the way, as well. So 20 minutes, they are saying, okay. So if you pass phase 1 and you're just fed up with TradeLocker being offline on the NFP news event because you wanted to trade, I'm not going to say because you wanted to go all in. Yeah. But, well, you can just, after passing phase 1, request that you want to migrate over to CTrader, because you get a brand new account after you passed phase 1. You can take it from there. I'm gonna stick with TradeLocker though. I don't really mind. I think it's a good thing. I mean, of course, yeah, challenge would be over and done with that little bits of a movement right here to the downside by risking $20. All I'm asking for is $9 in profit. See how we are holding up on the yearly VWAP and how ES is a lot weaker, already having retraced back into our 830 NFP news candle fair value gap, back at the consequent encouragement of our new week opening gap, having cleared this low already. And Q is lagging behind at this point in time. The DXY already retraced this entire move to the downside, 830 down, and we turn around immediately using bullish fair value gaps as support. As you can see, if we zoom in here on the 5-minute time frame, bullish fair value gap, we never broke it, continued higher, new bullish fair value gap, continued higher, new bullish fair value gap. We had one stop hunt at 10, but that's to be expected with, or anticipated with, a news event. So a quick stop hunt, continued higher. Now we almost retraced 100%, having successfully filled in this daily bullish fair value gap. We'll see how that plays out and, well, how Friday is going to close. This could be some scenario of a, well, bigger time frame accumulation, manipulation, reversal, distribution. Also, you could also call it a head and shoulder setup, but this would be a typical AMD accumulation, manipulation, distribution based on our higher time frame. Well, depends on how we close, essentially. Bongo, do you still have, you mentioned earlier inside the tapering chat that you are looking for shorts on EU. If EU were to retrace into, what's happening here? Let me remove all that. If EU is going to retrace into the bearish fair value gap, or is that limit order that you've been talking about? Then DXY and EU, they, no, didn't get in. Should have just taken my alarm. Well, we can take a look and see what happened up there. Very similar to what we saw on NQ and ES, but it just already, well, continued lower. Okay, NQ would have hit our target. Like said, we're gonna do imaginary partials. At this point in time, I would have taken my partial 1 right here, partial 2 right there, and then, yeah, move my stop to break even and see if we can continue any lower. So right now we would already have some money in our pockets. We just tested the yearly VWAP, which is matching up perfectly with the low of the new week opening gap right here on ES. Like I said, the question is where this daily candle is going to close. And this essentially, if it's similar to the situation at the beginning of the year, if we were to bars pattern, down, 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 up, if we could see something like this, but on a bigger scale, first up, down, and then we continue up higher. We see that same pattern right here. We retraced from a high, higher low, and continued higher. Damn. Looks like the rest of the position is likely gonna get stopped out at break even here. But we don't mind because we're content. We are traders that are content with enough. Like we said, nothing's guaranteed that we're going to fill in this entire gap. Of course, chance is there, and if you, well, don't want to give up on that chance, then don't move your stop loss to break even and just keep on holding. We already secured partials. Our initial profit target was exactly the VWAP, where we got this initial reaction from right here. We tapped the VWAP, previous week's high, left behind perfect equal low, so I think we're gonna run them out at least one more time. It's likely gonna happen now. But at least you already secured some profits, and well, depending on your risk management, if you move your stop loss to break even, you don't lose anything. But this entire setup is just based on us getting really close to quarterly VWAP, having filled in almost 50% of this daily bearish fair value gap. Essentially a fake pump and dump setup with the news candle. You can see that ES is pushing lower and lower into our NFP fair value gap. EU retraced that entire move to the upside. Have a nice weekend too, Simo. Enjoy the weekend. All right. Stop at break even. We took our partials. We can look for, depends, like I said. If you only ever trade with one mini contract, well, I don't know. I watched Kimo FX. Yeah, I watched his live stream recording yesterday, and he's, for example, only trading with one NQ mini contract. And I think he went long yesterday on NQ somewhere. Let's see. I rewatched this just because out of curiosity. Right here actually. So if we go into replay mode, ended up taking the same trade that I did, which was funny to me because I also looked at this bullish fair value gap right here to hold support, and I wanted to see a reaction inside of it. Essentially, keeping it very simple, high, higher low, higher high. I'm looking for a new higher low and a continuation higher, essentially into buy side liquidity right here. Where is that going to happen from that higher low? Well, very likely inside this 5-minute bullish fair value gap. So I dropped it down to the 1 minute. And inside this 5-minute fair value gap, look what we had right here. We had this climax sell-off at 11:30, right from the VWAP. Filled in this entire 5-minute bullish. Let me actually make it blue. Let's make it gray because it's from the higher time frame. Then I entered on the 1 minute time frame right here on this inversion fair value gap. We played around for a little while. And then it continued higher. But yeah, the point was that, of course, if you trade that with one mini contract, that's a good amount of profits. But, well, if we retrace, you see those profits slowly evaporate. And we don't like that as traders. Or maybe not as traders, I would have to say as human beings. And you typically, I don't know, you might have experienced that before. You see, oh, I'm up $2,000 or $1,000, and then no, you're only up 500, or it comes back down all the way to this level. And you're back at break even almost, and that's usually when the fear kicks in, and you want to secure at least some profits. Let's see how that would have played out. It came back, would have hit your break even, never invalidated the 5-minute, and you would have missed out on a, well, nice continuation to the upside. Of course, that requires a lot more patience. And it always depends on what your target is. If you're just looking forward to target the next higher high from the higher low right here, well, that's already a pretty good damn trade. But the point about this here is it's much easier handling your emotions if you take partials along the way and then just move your stop to break even or leave it sitting. Well, we at, well, look at that. So now we're stopped out at break even actually. We cleared the equal lows, like we said. We come back to it at least one more time. It's also 30-30 time, 10:30 to be exact. Swept lows. Let's see what's going to happen inside our gaps. Have a bearish fair value gap just up here. Let's see if we saw a similar movement on ES. ES also bounced nicely. Once again, low of the new week opening gap. Yearly VWAP down here. Let's see how ES is going to play this. Right around the 50% level of our daily bearish fair value gap and our 50% of the current new week opening gap. Did anyone take the short who's watching the stream? I unfortunately wasn't able to participate. I'm not going to try anymore, at least this AM session. Maybe gonna make $9 or something if I'm able to trade again during the PM session. Get the idea. Nice. Well, might still continue lower from here, but now we cleared sell side liquidity. Well, on a small scale, we cleared sell side liquidity, the most recent sell side at least, or short-term lows. And we might just be up for a little bit of more choppy delivery before we fill in this entire bearish fair value gap. Like I said, if you don't want to give up on this overall short, well, then just don't move your stop loss to break even. Stops at the 50% right here of this week should be fine, unless we invalidate this bearish fair value gap. If we do that, well, then we're likely going to revisit the daily bearish up there, paired with the quarterly VWAP. Euro US dollar. Keep an eye out for that, for our time frame. Like I said, still a potential setup, the accumulation, manipulation, distribution pattern here. And we don't trade the DXY, we only, essentially trade the DXY based on, well, with EU, because they're very closely correlated 95% of the time. And in that case, we would just look for exactly the opposite. We would look for an inversion fair value gap here. On the hourly, wait for the close below. Get the retest and then take out sell side. If we anticipate the inversion fair value gap here on the DXY with the retest out of this bullish fair value gap, on EU out of this daily bearish fair value gap, to continue back up. But that's more, that's something, well, could be looking into next week. Especially this move back up into here. Maybe for the short term today, we could reach into those two short-term highs or those two short-term lows here on EU. But, well, first of all, we have to close below the bullish fair value gap. And you being real choppy here. Like I said, the contempt trader, the trader that's who's content with enough, could already be done for the week, while the other one is stressing about if this could not just bounce off the VWAP and continue higher and hit the stop. While the contempt trader already secured his profits and signed off, enjoying the weekend now. It's your choice. Yes, playing inside the new week opening gap. Below the VWAP. Inside the hourly bullish. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm quickly going to the bathroom. We'll be back in no time. Well, and surprise, surprise, we're still playing around. Damn. Drawing tool. Let's take a look at Forex Factory. I want to see what next week looks like. European bank holidays, Wednesday, Thursday. No news whatsoever on Monday, Tuesday, so that's going to be interesting. We had all the news packed into this trading week. Then on Wednesday we have the 10-year bond auction, orange photo news at 1 p.m. So that's during the PM session. Don't really care too much about it. So I think next week's AM session, New York Open, should be decent. Monday, Tuesday, no news whatsoever. Be careful Monday without news, especially after a large moving week. Well, could be considered lower probability. Then on Thursday we have French and German bank holiday. 8:30 unemployment claims like every week. 30-year bond auction also at 1 p.m. And then on Friday we have 10 a.m. news, so just after the market opens. I get the prelim University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report. And taking a look at the scanner up here, you can see EU is still holding the fair value gap. GU, the British pound US dollar pair, is already below. USD JPY is bouncing here. Swiss franc, same thing here. Canadian dollar already overtook the down closing NFP candle. Australian dollar is also still holding up, similar to Euro US dollar. New Zealand US dollar, same thing. And British pound JPY is doing whatever that pair is doing. Not the biggest forex trader, as you might know. If anything, I trade the Euro US dollar. Sloppy price action. It's 10:40. I'm gonna be ending the stream today just before 11 a.m. New York local time. When we caught a nice inversion fair value gap move right here into sell side. This was our initial target. That's 50 points already. Really depends on what you're asking for. But it's very important for you to decide what you're actually looking for within a single trading day. Are you looking for 200 points, 500 points, 50, or maybe just 25? It's a very good question to ask yourself, because the answer is going to help you a lot. If you look for more than, well, 100 essentially, you're sort of more of a swing trader. If you look for 50 and less, well, I'd say you're a lower time frame scalper. In and out quicker, and sometimes out quicker than you got in, without thinking too much. Seeing us bounce here, well, if we continue higher, what I would like to see first is the close above the 10 a.m. bearish fair value gap here. Same thing on ES. I would like, in this scenario, I would like ES more, because it retraced deeper, bounced off the yearly VWAP, filled in the new week opening gap one more time, the hourly fair value gap. No, it's actually not an hourly. If I go into the settings of the ICT all-in-one here, 1 hour, it's a 15-minute bullish fair value gap. Bullish order flow here. Sell side of the curve, buy side of the curve after we hit our target. Attachment. Let me check the attachment. Oh yeah, you gotta love Discord communities. I have 9 kids to feed. I need to survive, please. I will be homeless. Sell them to buy more challenges, bro. It's always fun hanging around in there, especially when platform is down, because everyone is just overreacting. Same thing here. Inversion fair value gap, came back to retest it, took out the high, starting to form a nice rounded bottom here. See that? If you ever studied classical charting patterns, you know what a rounded bottom formation is, usually followed by a move to the upside and then a bullish flag pattern, and then this rounded bottom turns into a cup and handle setup, blah blah blah. Get the idea. And I don't really look at price this way. I just have it stored somewhere in the back of my mind. Cup and handle patterns and stuff like that, or rounded bottoms. And yeah, well, now I just merge it with ICT, because every rounded bottom, if you look into every old textbook, it gives you nice, well, it adds another layer on top of that. At the low of the rounded bottom, what do we usually want to see? Our bullish market structure shift. No, that's the bearish market structure shift. Damn it. With a nice impulsive movement. We leave behind bullish fair value gaps. We retrace into that and continue higher from here. Leaving behind new bullish fair value gaps, we hold support on them. And that's essentially what we're looking for. We're looking for that shift from bearish to bullish. And that shift happened right here with that confirmation. Looking for longs at this point. Of course, it's much easier to look at this, yeah, well, in hindsight, once the round bottom is already kind of confirmed. But you get the idea. We saw the same thing here on NQ. If we look at it, 1 minute time frame, our rounded bottom, it's hard to deny that it doesn't look like a nice round bottom. It's not like we just bounced with a V-shaped recovery. We have a nice rounded bottom. That's usually your sell side of the curve, and then followed by buy side of the curve. And the market structure shift happened right after we swept our equal lows that we outlined. Take care, enjoy your weekend. Until next week. I will also be heading into the weekend very soon. Give it a couple of more minutes. So guys, if there are any more last minute questions, feel free to ask. Now would be the perfect time. We'll be back soon. Ooh. Maybe we end the stream by having some fun. We already caught the 5-minute inversion fair value gap short for 50 points. Before I would look for higher prices, well, I would like to see the bearish fair value gap be inverted. But even then, it's higher risk, especially if you already caught 50 point short with me. I think we're going to end this live stream with a little bit of fun and check out what it's like over at the Funding Pips Discord. Mania. "21 moderators just for the Discord server." They would do themselves a favor by not having a Discord server anymore. That's also why I understand Take Profit Trader. I reached out to them once to see if they want me to create a Discord for them, and they're interested, but well, I think they looked at the Funding Pips Discord and found a reason why creating a Discord server could be more work than, yeah, well, actually the reward. Worst firm ever. Nope, they say they will do and never do. I really hope my trade wasn't executed. A moment, please. Thank you. My position get closed way further than my stop loss. Well, mate. My profits are gone and I also lose a nice setup. Bro, just give back my money for challenge I paid. I'm either going to FTMO or live account. I'm done with this drama, honestly. Why trade locker not working? I give up on trading. They're just scamsters. Always creating fake issues to blow the user's account. Worst possible tactics. Shit. Well, guess we had enough fun. You missed my message. What's your message? Do you have a different name on the Funding Pips Discord? Ah, I think I found it. I read Matt something somewhere, but I think I lost it. Yeah, I think I lost it. Somewhere up here. Well, I'm not gonna look into it too much. Yeah, alright guys, that's gonna be the end for today's live stream. And for the week as well. Well, we might just hang around for a second longer. This might be a nice setup. So we had our initial short right here, like this. Simple 1-to-1, low risk. Well, not even 1-to-1, but still 50 points. And now we retrace into that bearish value gap up here. Looking like we're rejecting. I'm not interested into this inversion fair value gap anymore. I'm more interested in this one. Because we left behind a bullish fair value gap when we moved into this bearish fair value gap. And if we look at the 1 minute time frame, well, this could be a nice continuation. Setup lower. Trade idea would look like this. Short of the inversion fair value gap, stop loss above the high. Target sell side, that would already be a 1.9 risk to reward. If it's going to come back to this inversion fair value gap. It's also a nice overall area. Old resistance. Not just a inversion fair value gap in the middle of nowhere. Looking at Euro US dollar. Starting to bounce off the hourly. Same thing here. Very curious to see what the charts look like tomorrow. "45 seconds to go." I'm gonna jump in the first short. Place my stop loss at the high. Add one more sell limit right here. One buy limit right here and one buy limit right on new week opening gap. And this is either going to be the final fake out before we take it higher, or yeah, well, it's the anticipated breakdown. We also have SMT divergence between ES and NQ. Let me get rid of this ugly line. Especially if we look on the 1 minute time frame, we see lower highs and lower highs. We never retrace into that bearish valley gap, and if we look at NQ, we see higher highs. That's basically it. What was there? Let's take a look at the trade locker Discord here for a second. No. Alright, I think I leave it with that. Next week's outlook, I think it's going to be a quiet week, given the new schedule, comparing it to this week. I mean, well, next week, last week, bank holiday, 1st of May, new monthly candle, NFP news event, FOMC news event. Very interesting trading week. Lots of red photo news comparing it to next week. I think next week's going to be a lot more quiet. Also, given the bank holidays in Europe. I'm likely not going to be trading the London kill zone on Wednesday and Thursday. But I will say I will, think about that over the weekend when I do my weekly recap. All right, are there any questions left? It's almost 5 p.m. Yep. So that's gonna mark the end of the live stream. Matt is gay. Good one. Very creative and funny. If I could rate you on that. Funny comment you left there. Have a great weekend, guys. Yeah. Enjoy the weekend. Whatever you do. Take some time off the charts. Do your recaps, do your journaling if you haven't caught up on it yet, like I did, or like me. I have to catch up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so I have actually some work to do. All right, guys. Like I said, thanks very much for joining today's stream. We'll be back next week. Take care and enjoy the weekend. Bye.